leaving in a black SUV. It's not a fire car. It's an SUV, folks. So I thought to myself, I'm like, if I don't hear from her in 5 minutes, it's on. And all I can remember is seeing 2 buses pulling up about two and a half blocks away, and Meredith in one of the front windows like this, and I'm like, we're going, let's go. So it was really awesome. I appreciate our bus captains making sure that we got out safely. Even though after we were on the bus, we went like through Chinatown. Like we were all over. It took us a minute to get out. So it was like
got a nice tour of the city.
But it's eventually back to the trip.
Yeah.
Oh.
And part of the reason we were driving around for a little while, I have to take partial responsibility for it because as soon as I got a call from one of those people who we left, I was like, I wasn't totally thinking clearly. I was like, we're turning around. We're going to get them. And, you know, I have to give credit to my other bus captain for realizing that that's probably not the best idea. And thinking outside the box a little bit and being like, yeah, we know people in Chicago who are going to get them.
Well, if the cops would have been, if they would have been doing their job, you know, I mean, if they didn't interpret their job as being like an obstacle course, maybe we could have gone and gotten that person. But the drivers were like, that's going to be at least another hour, if not an hour and a half, to go get that one person. And they said, we already left 2 hours late. Yeah. They said, do you really want to get home? They said, we don't want to tell you what to do, but we don't see how that's going to turn out so well, you know, for us and the budget for the trip and how late we can be up and, you know, and I was like, okay, those are all valid points.
I must say we had a nice bus driver on our bus.
Yeah.
He was very nice. He started to turn around and then realized that he totally couldn't work. Yeah, we'll go on much later. Did anyone else have anything else about the protest?
I was just going to say, when I was with the group, I believe Tim sent out a text at like 4:34, and I'm looking at the time, and I'm sitting here with 4 friends of mine. Well, 3 friends and I were in the communist contingent, and I'm looking at this thing, and it's like, well, okay, it's 4:34. I've waited for the thing to end, and I went through probably the thickest crowd I've ever been through in a while. And I've been on subways. I've been to bars where it's like 15 deep in front of the bar, and that's just one of the memories that sticks out in my mind. Is I'm with this friend of mine who's every other second is like, oh, something's about to happen here. I see people putting the plugs in their ears, and I just held on to her for dear life to get through that crowd because it was crazy. But it's like, and then to find out later, I thought what the police were doing with the batons had happened after our buses left, and later I found out that was literally like seconds before or after I was walking through that crowd.
Yeah.
So it's like, wow, that's interesting. Okay.
There's a video that's part of what I call my story, and at the end of it, a video that Mary found, and it isn't of people beating up, the clubbing, but it's a picture of a sea of these blue helmets, the riot squad. They just keep coming and coming and coming, and in the middle of them, I think it's in that video, it's in one of the videos, it's supposedly the chief superintendent of the Chicago Police, and he's in the middle of them. And he's wearing one of those cloth hats like they wore, only his was blue with gold braid on. And he was right in the middle of it. It gives you an idea of how many cops there were that we didn't see at the time.
Yeah, I'm from Albany, New York, but me and my friend Steve Downs took the train overnight on Saturday night and got there around noon or something, kind of tired. And we marched with our Muslim Solidarity Committee banner, and which was kind of hard because it was really windy in Chicago, and there's little holes in the banner, so I was trying to hold it against the wind. But then at the end we gave the banner to somebody, and we put on our National Lawyers Guild Legal Observer hats, and even though we didn't know any of the legal observers in Chicago, but we just kind of decided to become legal observers, And we ended up, well, the best part to me was the vet ceremony. That was really powerful. And, but we were near where the black block was on Cermak, a little bit from Michigan, right where all that stuff happened. And they had started marching at one point during the vet ceremony, but then I thought, oh, all the media's going to follow them. And I guess somebody convinced them to come back, because they came back. And they were really quiet and respectful at the vet ceremony. And they were really glad Scott Olson was there, and which was great. And just seeing everybody make their statements and throw their medals was really, really powerful. And then, but then after that, while that was going on, the police, like Amy Goodman pointed out, had surrounded. I knew we were surrounded. You could see them walking around all the directions of where the black bloc was, and that was the way they wanted that people were supposed to leave, and so that's why people couldn't leave afterwards, because the police had surrounded that whole area, and then they opened up a little bit, and they let people through one at a time, and then they started pushing the crowd, and I got in between and got right up against the police line, and they were pushing into my back like this, and there was a little pushing and shoving with one of the black bloc people, and I kind of got in between so they didn't grab him. It was really intense. I didn't actually see them clubbing people like that, but they were pushing really hard. Like, I could see how people could have gotten trampled if they had kept doing that. And then I moved back a little bit and was kind of watching. It was hard to see because the media was in my way, trying to push through and get the best shots. And they actually had a fight between two anchor guys over who had the position that they, one of them said, "That's my spot!" It was ridiculous. But we left before it was still going on. They kept pushing people into a smaller and smaller space and started. I saw some people had gotten beaten up and arrested, but then we left before it was over. But it was pretty intense. Oh, and the cooling, what you said about the cooling buses was interesting because I had read on the news that somebody in Chicago, officials or police, was taking credit for this, like, oh, we provided these cooling buses, right? But it sounds like, no, it sounds like the bus driver wanted to do it,
did it
and then they were taking credit
Yeah.
for it. Yeah, so that was interesting.
So how many of you were there? 3 of you?
We had about probably 8 to 10 people from Albany, but kind of got their
Your
separately.
dad, so?
Oh, there were lots of legal observers, but from Chicago, and there were just 2 of us from Albany.
I did see, in one of the videos, there's 3 fluorescent
Yeah,
green hats moving through, and I wondered if that was you. I don't know.
possibly. There was probably like 8 in the area I was in. I didn't really know the other one. Well, I started getting to know them because we were comparing notes. You could hear the police describing people they were going to grab out of the crowd, so I was trying to relay that information. And also the earplug thing was funny. They got out that long-range acoustic device thing, and so everybody got out their earplugs. I brought earplugs. Like, the media had earplugs, lots of people had earplugs, so we all put them in, and then we couldn't hear each other very well. And then they didn't use the thing, and then at one point the police got out their gas masks, and everybody's like, oh, tear gas, get the vinegar, you can smell the vinegar. Then they put the gas masks back down, and it was like they were testing to see how people would react. Yeah.
I noticed that the ACLU was very present during the march, but I didn't see any ACLU hats in the where the problems were.
Yeah.
I only saw an NLG hat.
Exactly what I noticed too. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
There were a good contingency of street medics around. At least I saw several passing out water, which was very different to me. I didn't have water with me. And there were at least a couple that were Twin Cities transplants that ended up working in Chicago with the medics. I also saw Corey Matson. I don't know how many folks here know Corey. He used to be a volunteer at the Minneapolis store. Beth got to meet Dr. Patch Adams.
That's the second time I met him. I met him the first time at the Senate. Yeah.
So